Hi, it's Jan Hamning. I am here today with Kelly Weaver, and we've got a great conversation. Kelly is the author of Living Your Own Aloha. We're going to talk about the law of attraction and manifesting. So, watch this video and learn more about Kelly and the law of attraction. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got Kelly Weaver here from Hawaii. Yes, yes, yes. It's quite a time zone difference from the Midwest of the mainland to Honolulu.
Yes.
But Kelly is the author of this Living Your Own Aloha. And I was introduced to this book through the Ambition to Success entrepreneur coaching group that I'm a part of. And the coaches, Jen Hall and Anna Paskett. Jen Hall texts me before the box came out, I think it was being shipped, and she was like, "You are going to love this book. We're going to love the book of the month," because she knows how I feel about practicing the law of attraction. You know,
Yes,
and it's not whether you believe in it or not, it is a law.
that's right.
It's like the law of gravity. Whether you believe it or not, it's there.
That's right.
So let me just do a little reading of Kelly's bio so you can get to know a little bit more about her. Kelly Weaver is a certified law of attraction coach, and we're going to talk about that more. A soulpreneur, which I love that, soulpreneur, S-O-U-L, writer, speaker, wife, and mother of two beautiful daughters. For almost 2 decades, she has taught middle and high school students in both public and private schools. In 2014, she finally took her own advice and moved from her inner city Reading, Pennsylvania to Honolulu, Hawaii to pursue her dreams, not everybody else's.
That's right.
She's the founder and owner of Soulviver 808. She's also a Reiki practitioner. And I love this. Not so secret love of everything rainbows and unicorns. You and my great nieces, my five great nieces, would get along excellently because
Yes.
they're all about rainbows and unicorns. So, Kelly, just to get started, um, how did it come to be that you were interested in becoming a law of attraction coach?
So back in 2009, my husband and I came to Hawaii on a 10-year wedding anniversary trip. That was a manifestation in itself, but that's a whole other story. And when we got here, we had the most amazing vacation. It was everything that you had dreamed about, and it was like a second honeymoon. And we reconnected and we had this amazing time. And then we were getting ready to get on the plane and we were in the airport and we had a lot of extra time. So my husband suggested we go, there was like an upstairs to the airport, and let's go check out what's up there. And on the way down, I missed a step and dislocated and broke my ankle hours before
Oh,
getting on the plane.
oh no.
And I didn't realize it until I had to have surgery. I mean, it was one of the worst breaks. That's what the doctor told me when I got back to Pennsylvania, because at the time I was still living in Pennsylvania. And I had to have surgery, and it was a long recovery.
Oh boy.
But it was actually the break that actually opened me up to my spirituality. It was what I call my awakening. And until then, I had not realized that I actually was a deliberate creator, and that the reality that I had been creating all my life was the law of attraction. And what happened was, because I was laid up with this ankle and literally I could not put any weight, it was non-weight bearing. My friend had given me a copy of The Secret, and I hadn't read it. And I was an avid reader, I was an English teacher, but I just one of those things, right? Kind of put on the shelf. And one day I took it off the shelf. I read it cover to cover. I just became obsessed. I could not read enough because finally things in my life were making sense. And I had not had the language and the vocabulary before it. And so then we ended up moving to Hawaii. And again, just ingrained, just reaching out, studying, reading, learning everything that I could, And then I met Christy Whitman, who has the Quantum Success Academy of coaching, and decided I need to be certified in this because I live it, I do it, I breathe it, and I want other people to have this amazing life that I have created. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where it all got started.
And yeah, and I love how she tosses that name out, Christy Whitman, because Christy Whitman, for anybody watching this, Christy Whitman is probably one of the, if not the most well-known law of attraction coach out there.
As the kids say, she's the OG.
Yeah, she's awesome. I have followed her for years, and you did something that I had thought about doing at one point, but you went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
You
I
trained
did it,
with her.
and I did it behind my husband's back at first, because when I had approached him about doing it, we had just moved to Hawaii, and he
Oh,
was like, we can't afford it. My husband had a lot of limiting beliefs
yeah.
and all of this stuff. And there was just something, I write about this in the book. There was something compelling of like, no, this is what you need to do. And this is the guidance and the mentorship that you need. And it has been the best investment I've ever made. Christy is what you see. She is true and genuine. She actually wrote the foreword to my book.
I saw that. Yeah. And I've read this book and I've read that whole forward
And let
too.
me tell you something. That was not an expectation I had. Again, I live by the mantra, it's always best to ask, right? It's always no unless you ask.
Right.
And I was not expecting her to, not in a bad way. She's very busy. She's got many students. And I just thought, but I'm gonna ask. And when she replied that she would do it, I mean, I felt like fangirl, I was like, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of person that she is.
Yeah.
And I think that spoke volumes to me. So
And that comes across in any of the classes anybody has taken with her, any of the free webinars or anything. It comes across that she is authentic and genuine.
yes. So
So for the people out there watching this, law of attraction, manifesting, those words get thrown around a lot in the
sure.
past 10 to 15 years. Um, how can you actually explain what the law of attraction is to somebody who really is not understanding it entirely?
Sure. I think just simply the law of attraction is what you put out, you get back, right? We all are like radios. Everything is made up of energy, and we emit a frequency from our thoughts and our beliefs. And when we are vibrating on the same frequency as a desire, we attract it to us. If we're not vibrating on that frequency, we can actually repel things away. And so the law of attraction, I think, is really that simple. Like, if you put it out there, it will come back. And I really do believe that if it's for your highest good. I talk a lot about in the book, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of. This book is not just about all the successes I had. I talk a lot about things that did not manifest or setbacks that I had, but in retrospect, I realized that they were not for my highest good, and they were not things. It was the universe was trying to get me to a specific place, I believe, that I wanted, that I had created. And sometimes I was trying to create my own detours,
Taking
right?
control, right?
Right. Trying to think that I had to take control instead of just trusting that if it was for my highest good, it was going to unfold and manifest. And so what I say about law of attraction is, just it's like anything in life. You call it karma, whatever, but what you put back is what you're going to get out. And I have noticed that when I'm positive, when I'm vibrating on that higher frequency, when I'm emotionally, I think that's the other piece that's really important, is that it's not just about your thought. There has to be the emotion behind it. So you have to really act as if you're joyful or happy or whatever emotion is that you're going to experience when you attract the thing, or, the abstract concept like love that you want.
Yeah. So yeah, that's important. The emotion. It's like, how do you want to feel?
Yes,
How do
that's
you
so
want to feel when you have it? And act as if you have it.
Yes. Right.
And and yeah, we've got a lot more to go through because that just keeps triggering me on more questions to ask you. But with the law of attraction, a lot of people say, yeah, that nothing good ever happens to my life. This is just the way my life goes. Yeah, you go through life, it sucks, and then you die, and there's all these things. And when you talk about our words and thoughts having a frequency, you know, can you touch on that a little bit when people say, oh yeah, you
Hmm.
go through life and it sucks and you pay taxes and you die. And so what kind of frequency does that put out?
Well, Jerry and Esther Hicks, who are also really the OGs of all of manifesting and
Yeah.
coaching,
Yeah.
um, that I really resonated with, have something called the vibrational scale, and they rate the emotions from 1 down to 22. And, love and gratitude and joy top that list as the highest frequency. And then you get to anger, disappointment, worry, hatred as the bottom. And so if you're a person who lives in those low level frequencies all the time, it is no wonder that in your reality, that is what you see, right? Because that's what, again, the law of attraction says, what you put out, you bring back. It's a boomerang effect. So if you can shift, and I talk about this in the book too, it's not realistic if somebody is coming in at the lowest level of emotion, or if they're angry or hurt, to suggest that they're going to go automatically to number one in love and joy. But if we can shift you like if I'm coaching, if I can shift you one frequency up, if I can get you from worry to disappointment, that's actually a huge scale, because a 1 degree, boils water, but then turns water into steam. And so it's really important. And that's what I use a lot of my coaching calls, is that vibrational scale. And we always check in. Where are you today on the scale? And we start from there. And you're going to be it's true, during the day, you could be at different points of the scale depending upon what happens. But as you become more conscious of how much where you are on that scale, you have more control of your energy to make sure that you're changing that emotion as much as you can.
Right. It's kind of funny. Not really, but kind of funny because, we're human and we all get caught up in our low frequency emotions. And I know
Yeah.
you have that guidance scale. I think it's in your book, right?
Yes,
You have it
it
on.
is.
But my good friend Lori Lamont, who lives on the East Coast in Massachusetts, and I'm in the Chicago area, we speak regularly on the phone. And sometimes things happen in your life and we'll be talking on the phone. And she's like, hey, how was your weekend? I'm like, oh my God, you won't believe me. I got this thing and I just don't have enough time, and I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to, people asking me to do this. She goes, I'm letting you run around the barn.
Mhm.
And how much more of not enough time do you want?
Exactly.
I'll just laugh. I go, you're right. I'm like,
Yes.
I need to quit saying those words and quit thinking it.
Yeah.
Just say,
And
I've
I love
got
what you
plenty
said.
of time.
I love what you said, though. She allowed you to get it out, because
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that was something you were going to ask me later, that we were talking before this
Yeah.
conversation. But, there's this belief that you have to be this rainbows and ponies, unicorns and butterflies person. And that is just not the case. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And you need that contrast, you need that duality. That's what makes life sweet. And so it's okay. Vent, get it out, but then move on. Like your friend told you, okay, I'm gonna let you get it
Exactly.
out. But like up and out, I always say you got to feel it to heal it. So we have to experience those emotions, but then it's consciously changing that so we can get to that different frequency.
Exactly. And as she and I are both EFT practitioners, and she's a master trainer, and I've attended a couple of her classes, and she uses that when you're tapping and
Yes.
venting. She said, I just let my clients tap and run around the barn till they find the door to get out.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
it's a great analogy for it. And it's the same thing, when we're venting, it's just like, and I think of her words all the time. let your client just run around the bar until they find the door out.
That's right.
Just keep tapping and just keep tapping until they finally take a breath and go, whew, okay, I'm ready to get some clarity. So yeah, but yeah, our belief systems, yeah, it's huge, isn't it? With
It's huge.
it's just
And
huge.
and until you examine them, until you really sit with them, and I had to do this, my clients have to do this.
Yeah.
We get beliefs from our parents, from our grandparents, from great grandparents that we didn't even know necessarily, right? Depending on what environment you live in, and you can pick up those stories, and then you subconsciously, it's what I call the subconscious reel. Sometimes you're not even aware that you have these stories until we start delving into it. And then it's like, okay, well, where did that belief come from? Oh, well, my mom used to say money doesn't grow on trees, and so then you start having these beliefs about money. So it's changing your stories, changing your beliefs so that you can start seeing the reality that you really want to create in your life.
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. So for people that are wanting to start out, like step one, like baby steps, I want to start attracting my desires. What is the first step that you give a client? Like what's the very first step to
Mhm.
I want to have this next year.
So I use Aloha as a mnemonic device in the book. And the first step is A is for ask. And I know that that sounds very basic, but you would not believe how many clients that come to me that really don't even know what they want. So you have to get very clear and
Mhm.
specific on the desire that you want. You can't, and I write about this in the book, you cannot just say, I would like some clothes, right? You go into Macy's or Nordstrom and you say that to someone, they're going to start asking you a barrage of questions. Well, do you want a dress, a shirt, pants? Like you have to be very specific. Your job, that's your job. Your job is to be as specific as you can. Envision it, allow it in your mind. It's kind of fun. I think it's fun to dream up those things. Like if there's a car you're trying to manifest, see the make, the model, okay? That's so important because the universe does not work with ambiguity. You can't be vague. And I have found the more specific I am and the more adamant I am when I want to manifest something, the universe really pulls through. If I'm wishy-washy or not really sure, or do I really want this? I don't see it happen as fast. But when I'm clear and I'm like, I need this by this time, boom, it happens for me. So I would say you have to be very specific.
Specific, put the color, put the size, or if it's a house or a vacation, put all the details of it. How do you want to feel when you get there?
Yes, most important. How do you
Yeah, that
feel once you have
emotion.
that?
Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, I have oh yeah, what's the most challenging step to manifesting? Which
I
do you think it's the belief system or do
no,
you think it's something
no.
else?
I loved this question, Jan. It is the how. I would be a gajillionaire if I could get my clients to really hear this. The how is none of your business.
Yes, I
And
like the
that
way you put it in the book. It's none of your damn
damn
business.
business. Right. I don't know if I should swear here, but
Yeah.
it's not. And what I have found is when I've manifested things, that's the most exciting part. It never came in the way that I thought it would come. I couldn't have dreamed up some of the things that I have manifested in my life of coming the way that it's come. And so the point is that if you can genuinely just get clear in your desire and don't worry about how, well, I don't know how am I going to get that money? How am I going to get that car? There's no way. If you keep saying that, there is going to be no way. But if you can truly let that go and allow, I'm telling you, you're gonna be amazed. And I use this analogy that I learned from Jerry and Esther Hicks in reading one of their books, which I think helps make a lot of sense to this. When you go into a restaurant and you order a meal, okay, let's say Jan and I go into a restaurant, we're going to be talking, we're going to be sharing, stories. We've put our order in. we have no doubt that we are going to be served our food. Maybe it'll take a little longer if they're backed up in the kitchen or there's, it's busy. Maybe it'll be super fast. But Jan and I never doubt that our food is coming out. We don't run down to the local convenience store and buy something. We don't go barging into the kitchen saying, "Where's our food?" We know, right? We know without a doubt it's coming. That is how you have to approach your manifesting desire. That once you put it out there, that in divine timing, and this is the most important part, if it is in your highest good. Because I said earlier, there have been things that I have put out that have not happened. And one big example to show you for this was I really wanted to move to Hawaii. That was definitely my desire. And so I started putting out, trying to look for jobs and things like that. And I was offered, and I really wanted to move somewhere warm. Okay. I was offered a job in Florida, and it was a disaster. It would have been a disaster. I mean, the whole interview process was a disaster. The universe was like, could not have given more red flags. And I almost did it because I was so desperate to try to get out of where I wanted. And I eventually, it was just got to the point where it was like, there's no, I could not ignore that this would not be a good situation.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, in retrospect, I realize now the universe is like, what are you doing? It had all the plans in the world. You said you wanted to move to Hawaii. This is what you wanted. You were clear about it. We're in the back. We're in the kitchen cooking it up. Just be patient. In divine timing, it will be for your highest good. But it wasn't. And I can look back on my life now and realize that the timing at that point wasn't good for my family, for me. And so after a while with patience, it did unfold.
That's interesting because I made note of that word patience.
Yes.
But you have to have patience.
Yes. Because sometimes you are not healed enough, ready enough to accept it. And you have to, and I wasn't. I can look back at that now and say, I know why it happened. And there will be some things you won't ever understand. And that's okay. You have to trust. I always say, you've got to trust that it was for your highest good. And if it didn't manifest and unfold, there was a reason. And I don't doubt any longer. I used to be, I used to be around a lot of people that everything is woe is me and my life is this and my life is that. But I realize now even in disasters, even in traumas, all of those things, there is a silver lining, there is a gratitude, there is a lesson to be had. There wasn't a reason that it just happened to me. It happened for me.
Yeah, that I love that because I don't know. I'm thinking there might be 1% of the population out there that has had what they call the perfect life. We've all had some type of trauma, whether it's big T trauma, small T trauma, whatever your perspective of it is. And at the moment, we're like, oh my God, I'm never going to make it through this. I can't believe this is happening to me. But as you get through it, and then, 5 years later, you look back on it, or 10 years later, like I think back of events and relationships I was in my 20s. And I think back to it and I look back on the growth I've made and the steps, the choices I made in life to get to where I'm at today. And if those things didn't happen to me in my 20s, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be the what they call light worker or whatever people want to refer to me as. I wouldn't be that person and be able to help people heal and teach them how to heal themselves if I didn't have those experiences. So yeah, I think that's interesting. But as you can see in my book, I put all these tabs because these are things that when I really enjoy a book, I put these little tabs in there so I can go back randomly and just look and read. And there's one that now that we're talking about it's like many people believe that by letting go of the outcome, they are giving up. And surrender is not giving up. Surrender is allowing yourself to receive. And I just love that line. And that's why I put a little pink tab there to remind myself every once in a while I put my intention out there. I put my order in to the universe or to God or whatever you want to call it. I put my order in and I surrender. I release it. I give them that, whatever that frequency, the order, and just sit back and just wait for the signs and wait for the indications that it's on its way. And where's my next move? Where's my inspired action step? Where, what do I need to take? And just not worry about it.
Yeah. But
And
that is definitely the hardest. It's hard for everyone. And that's, I mean, I'll be honest, sometimes I'm in my head too about it.
yeah, but I love this. Then at the end of that paragraph, don't ruin the magic by trying to manipulate how it will arrive.
It's
The
true.
magic, because it is sometimes like magic, isn't it?
And I giggle, I laugh about things that I manifest or how they came about. And I'm always just, it still makes me, feel giddy and laugh because
Yeah,
it's not at all what I would have imagined it,
I
how it's.
know. I know. It's fun. So yeah, so one of my favorite steps is the act as if.
Yes.
And you have an exercise in the book, and I think I was the first one in our coaching group that did it, and I would make comments in our private Facebook group, and people are like, yeah, that just seems like a lot of work. That's too much of a commitment. And the 5 by 55, 5 by 55. Can you explain what that is?
Yes. So if you have something I think it works best with something very tangible that you want to manifest, like an amount of money or a car or something like that. You're going to state your desire as if you already have it in a gratitude statement. So I'm so grateful for the $5,000 I received to pay my trip to France or whatever. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have to write that statement 55
So
times.
don't make it too long.
Right. So that's my first piece of advice. Try to keep that gratitude statement short, sweet, to the point, but also still with what you want to manifest. Okay. And then you're going to write that statement. If you remember, like maybe back in our day, Jan, they don't do this anymore in school, but when you got into trouble, sometimes one of you had to write something over and over again.
Yep. Yep.
So you're going to write that statement exactly the same 55 times for 5 days in a row. And here's the thing. If you forget a day, you got to start back at day one.
Which I did.
Right. And it is a lot. And here's this is what I have found with the process. The first day, you're kind of like, second day, you're really annoyed because you're like, man, this is really hurting my hand. It's taking a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
even still the third day. But for me, by the fourth and definitely by the fifth day, because I had written it so much, and because you're also very mindful as you're writing it, you're really in the moment with it, pen to paper, intention. By the fifth day, I would actually kind of tingle and feel like I really did already receive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure what
And
this
it
was.
is challenging, but I only forgot the one time and I restarted it. I think I was only on day 4, so it wasn't that bad. Or day 3.
Oh, I was going to say day 4.
Day 4 would have been bad, but day 3, like I did 1 and 2, and then I forgot. So I'm like, okay, I got to start over again. And, I would usually do it at the end of my day when I get home and after I had dinner, and I'd sit and I'd write. And yeah, your hand cramps up and, because you're not used to writing that much any longer these days.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to tell you, by day 4, I was getting excited
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, I only have 1 more day after this. And when I hit that final line on day 5, that 55th time on day 5, I'm like, whew, okay,
Yeah.
I'm surrendering to the universe, this or something better.
Yes. I
And
always say this or better.
yeah, this or something better. And I haven't looked back on it since.
Yeah.
And so,
And
and
I've done it a few times, and within usually a week, if it's happened.
yeah.
It actually happened to pay Christie's program.
Oh,
I had written it out as for the money. I had no idea where it was coming because I was a teacher, and when you're a teacher, you have a very set salary,
yeah.
I mean, and the next thing I know, though, after I literally had finished, I think it was about 3 days later, my boss had come in and asked me if I wanted to work on something in the summer that was not part of my regular job description, so I would get additional income and money. And so if I wanted to do it, and it was the amount that I needed to
Isn't
pay.
that crazy?
So that's what I mean. When you
Yeah.
don't worry about how it's going to be and you just get in that, and that's why I like this process, because I do genuinely think that that's what happens. Maybe in the beginning, your vibration is, you're a little cranky about having to write it so many
Yeah.
times. But by the fifth day, it does vibrationally almost change you where you are vibrating in the same frequency. And so now you're
Yeah.
able to attract it much faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine has not shown up yet, but you know what? I'm patient because it will show up in perfect timing.
It will, for
I
sure.
know that, and I don't question that any longer.
Good.
So in chapter 15, I think it is, aligning to your purpose.
Yeah.
How important is it that we know our purpose, and what do you exactly mean when you say aligning to your purpose?
Well, I think it's aligning to what sets your soul on fire and makes you excited every single day. I as I was rereading that chapter, because I feel we do come into this life with a purpose, okay? And there's a belief of our generation, my mom's generation, where you go to work, you earn a paycheck, and that's good enough, right?
Right.
That's what work is. You don't have to be fulfilled. If you are, great, but
You
that
have a
was not.
job. You've
You
got
have
a
a job.
job.
You have a job. I personally have seen that when people really step into their purpose and why they are here, miracles truly happen. When you are walking the path of what you are supposed to be doing. And I want to be very clear. I come from a very blue collar family. All of my family were factory workers, or they did those kind of jobs. There is nothing wrong with that. If you enjoy what you do and you're happy doing it, like my mom did. She just retired last year from a factory job since she's 18 years old. She loved it. It was her community and her people.
Yeah.
That was just not for me. I just knew that my purpose here was something different. But I do feel like when you finally step into something that you love to do, and maybe it's not what makes your money, maybe it's even just a hobby that brings you joy. I feel the universe brings resources, money, whatever it is that you need to really help you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we feel like we can't do that because, oh my gosh, we have retirement, we need health benefits. And I'm not being naive that those things are essential. But the thing is a lot of times our beliefs make us believe that you can't do something that you love and fulfills you and make money doing it. And
Right.
I'm here to tell you that that's just a false belief.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, aligning with your purpose. Yeah, and many people, they've gone almost their whole life and they're like, I don't even know my purpose.
Right, because their belief system has
Their
held them in this
Yes,
this belief that I have to just do a job to make
right.
money. I can't
Right.
be fulfilled with it. And that's one of the things I love coaching on. I mean, it's one of the things that when people come to me, we go through the process of and people, the other problem is people have stopped dreaming. They really get to become an adult and something shuts off in us, in all of us, myself included, for a long time. And it's like, no, let's get back to that 4-year-old who believed he could be an astronaut and a cowboy and a doctor all at the
Yeah.
same time. Let's really delve into what lights you up, what sparks you, what makes you happy, what fulfills you if you could do something daily. And a lot of people have lost that part of them. And that's what makes me so incredibly sad, because
Yeah.
if you can ignite that and find that again, and listen, maybe that's in your current job. Maybe it's just you've lost a spark or something, or there's something within. But reconnecting with that, because again, right, we talk about energy, we talk about that vibration. If you're vibrating on that higher level, you're going to attract more wonderful things into your life.
Yeah, I agree with that completely because I think as through life, the good and bad and challenges of life, we don't allow ourselves to experience joy.
Correct.
We don't
Correct.
allow it to happen. We don't allow ourselves to be playful and experience that joy in life. And
I
locally living, I have 5 great nieces between the ages of 2 and 9. And when I'm around them, I feel more joy than any other time because I play with them and I allow myself to be silly and entertain them and laugh with them and do silly things, crawl on the floor and do whatever I need to do to have fun with them. And
I love that you said that
we all
because
need that.
I think there was something Brene Brown wrote about that, if I'm not right. There's somebody that wrote about how, as humans, we are afraid to experience joy because we think it's fleeting and it's just better to not even
Right.
experience it because then we feel deflated after. And, listen, I mean, my life, although it looks like it, maybe, is not rainbows and unicorns. I've had, and you'll read in the book, I had a very, very rough upbringing.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know how, but I just knew that there was a bigger purpose to my life. I don't look back at any of the healing, any of the trauma, any of the work that I've had to do any longer as anything negative. It has totally made me the strong, resilient person I am today. It made me an amazing teacher because I could connect with kids on different levels rather than just go in there and teach them nouns and verbs. And so I think you've hit on something about the joy. And one of the things I talk about in the group is there is a secret ingredient to manifesting, and it's in gratitude. If you can find something to be grateful for each and every single day, I don't care what kind of day you've had. If you've had the worst day of your life, there is some nugget, there is some moment in that day that you can be grateful for. And I have been practicing gratitude for over 7 years, every single day consistently. I write it down. I'm part of a Facebook group, and it has changed my life. And I know that the reason it's changed me is because it's changed my frequency. It's really helped me so those people that you were talking about that see their life as woe is me, if we can get them to start seeing glimmers of gratitude, I
Yeah.
will tell you, and it's free. It doesn't cost
It is
anything
free.
to
I
out
know. It's
to
so free. Yeah, because that was one of my questions, how important, like, is gratitude when it comes to creating your future, attracting what you want?
It's the secret ingredient. It's if
Yeah.
there is anything that I leave you with today, I'm telling you, gratitude practice has changed my life profoundly. I mean, I was a very positive person before gratitude. I mean, overall, I could always kind of see the silver lining, but I'm here to tell you now, it's just vibrationally changed me. It's very hard to look at any situation in my life even as it's happening, because I know that it's happening for me. I know there's a lesson. I know there's a blessing in it. And gratitude has really been the rewiring I really feel a rewiring of my brain. It's like a natural, serotonin boost.
Yeah, it's true because I practice gratitude, whether I write it down or I speak it out loud.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I mean, I'll just be driving to my studio and I'll just be speaking out loud. I'll be driving past something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I get to drive past and look at that beautiful yard all summer long as I drive by. Simple little things, or grateful for a parking spot, or,
Yes.
the simple little things. If we could just learn to find the gratitude in it,
Hmm.
because like you say, you had, yes, and you talk about it in your book, your childhood trauma. And so this law of attraction, manifesting good things, just doesn't happen to people that because they're lucky, or
Yes.
because they were raised with money, or whatever, handed this the golden spoon. No, it's something that it's a practice.
And that was one of the things I have to tell you. I sent my book somewhere, I forget where, and they came back with a critique, and it was overall good. But one of the things that I was irritated with a little bit was basically they said something to the effect of, it will be hard for some readers to identify with Kelly because of privilege or something like that. And
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
wow, you really missed the very first chapter because
Yes.
I did not, I grew up in an inner city. Earlier you mentioned this. It's pronounced Reading. It's
Oh,
okay.
Reading. Sorry.
Everyone says reading because it
Yeah.
looks like reading. But I was born and raised in Reading, PA, in poverty. I was a free lunch kid. My parents were divorced. My father was a drug addict. He's, now actually in January he's going to be celebrating 34 years of sobriety.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes. But my stepfather was also an addict who, never recovered. I was physically and mentally abused. And I had a lot of really hard things. And I don't feel like anything in the book that I share is something that you have to be privileged or you have to be rich. The exercises that I write about and I provide, they don't cost anyone money. Everything in this book you can do for free. There is no, besides buying the book, there's no other
Yeah,
cost. Every
you're
inspired
right.
assignment.
It's a matter of commitment and
Oh,
time
yeah.
and energy and openness, staying open.
Right. And so that was why when I got a little bit of that critique, and listen, you can critique it. I know that now I live a very wonderful life, but I created that life.
Yes.
I stepped into those things by doing the things that I teach in the book. So it's proof that it doesn't matter where
Yeah.
you come from, your ethnic background, your cultural background, your poverty level, your rich level. It doesn't matter. If you employ these things that I teach, you can change your life around. I just really believe it.
I am so on board with you because I know that's all true. I
Yeah.
know that it's a law. I know that we have the power to change our life if we choose to.
Yeah.
If we choose to. I mean, there's lots of ways to change it, but if you have to want to change
Right.
it.
That's right.
And that's where it all begins. Kelly, I am so thrilled that we were able to have this conversation. And I'm telling you, living your own aloha and aloha, this, 5 steps, well, she uses
Yes.
aloha and she talks about the meaning, the deep meaning and about of the word aloha, which I was not completely familiar with that. Um,
Not either. And I went back and forth. I really did a lot of talking to people here in Hawaii. Specifically,
yeah.
they call them kumu, who are teachers. And these are people that are native to the land. And I got mixed reviews. I mean, I was told by some you should not use the word, it's sacred.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
told I was told by others, no, it's okay. You're using so I really struggled with it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I can just tell you that I had to trust my gut in the sense that the way, and I talk about this in the book, but the way that aloha came to me was I was walking and I was on a walking, I call them walking meditation.
Mhm. Yes.
And all of a sudden, I heard very clearly, because I get a lot of messages, I'm an intuitive, and I heard very clearly, use the word aloha. And I already knew the book was going to be called, I knew that there was going to be 5 steps. And I'm like, why use aloha? Aloha, Aloha. Oh my God, it's 5 letters. And
Yeah.
then I realized it struck me that aloha at the core, I mean, it's not just a word with a definition, right? But at the core, it means love. And love is the highest vibration. And that's what you need to manifest. So after spirit told me that, I knew why. I knew
Yeah.
why I had to use it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, anybody watching this, I mean, you can just feel Kelly's energy and the passion she has for being a law of attraction coach and the belief that she has. And that belief, if you're going to work with a coach for anything, you have to have a coach that has a passion for it and a belief in themselves and in the process. If you, oh my gosh, if you want to work with Kelly, I mean, Kelly is the she's been trained by one of the best, if not the best. If you want to work with Kelly, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would love to, have a conversation. The best way is you can check out my website, which is www.soulvivor808. 808, just so you know, is the zip code for Hawaii.com. And that's SOULVIVOR. It's a play on the word survivor because I chose that as my company name because I realized there are many people that survive their life, but my soul survived.
Yeah,
Um, and so that is why I call us soul survivors because some of us, we have had a lot of trauma, but our souls have stayed intact. So you can find me there. You can send me an email at soulvivor808@gmail.com and we can have a conversation.
yeah. And, I'm going to have all that information below the video too. How to reach out to her and where can people find your book?
And people can find the book on Amazon is the easiest, but it also is barnesandnoble.com. And also if you just Google it, if you don't like those big box stores, I've noticed the other day, if you just Google it, it shows up other places as well because it is listed in the publishing world. But Amazon and Barnes and Noble are the two easiest and biggest ones.
That's great. Kelly, thank you so much for meeting with me today and having a conversation and talking about one of my passions, the law of attraction. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, Kelly would be more than happy to schedule a conversation with you on Zoom, I'm sure, and
Absolutely.
have it just talk. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to her to ask some questions of how she works. And
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
it just starts with a conversation.
Yes.
So
Well,
thank
I
you,
can't thank
Kelly.
you enough.
And if anybody has any questions about me and my services, you know how to reach me. It's always on here. So thanks and have a great day.